Hi folks, welcome to your MWIS Friday Planner in association with Ellis Brigham. Now, as we make tentative steps back into the big wide world next week, the weather is quite a mixed bag, rather unsettled at first, improving as we go into the middle of the week. And if you feel like you've missed out on your winter fix across the hills and mountains, well, maybe there's just a little Easter treat on the way as some cold weather is looking most likely. More on that in a moment. We've got some chilly weather around at the current time, with a cold front having gone eastwards today, Friday. Chilly air has followed, and we're down to a freezing level, 600 metres or even below as we go overnight into early Saturday. So near to freezing point from lower slopes up first thing on Saturday morning. That freezing level, as shown here, will rise as we go through the day from the west and the southwest, soonest into Wales, and gradually going above 800 metres elsewhere. And by the end of the day, onwards into the evening time, it's likely that freezing level will lift even toward or above the higher summits as a warm front passes eastwards and the next weather system off the Atlantic comes through. We will, though, see a further frontal system, a cold front, just running through as we go into early Sunday. So across Scotland, we see temperatures drop again, and then likely to push back northwards as milder air comes up from the southwest through Sunday and onwards into the start of next week. Some very mild air comes in for a time across England and Wales, some pleasantly spring-like temperatures for a day or so. And we'll just skip this story on. This is onwards through Monday and onwards into Tuesday. Just the hint at the very end of this chart that there is some colder air still waiting in the wings toward the north and west. Charts for the next few days looking like this. Here's Saturday. We've got a windy day across many areas. A bit of a lull briefly as just a bump of high pressure nudges through, but those winds will strengthen again through the afternoon to gale or severe gale force as the next Atlantic low and attendant fronts come sweeping in. One or two early showers of some snow and some hail around. Those will soon fade out as that little ridge of high pressure comes through, but as the fronts do arrive, then we'll see some rain preceded by hill snow coming in to western hills and mountains, that heaviest across western Scotland later in the day. It's a real southwesterly conveyor belt that takes us onwards into Sunday and the start of next week, it must be said. A trail of fronts running in from the Atlantic, a bit of uncertainty just in exactly the north-south positioning of this frontal zone, but the idea of some prolonged rainfall across western hills and mountains from the West Highlands down to the Lake District, maybe a little bit patchier the further south you go across the Pennines and into Wales, but a lot of low cloud across those western hills. The northern side of this frontal zone still in the chillier air at least part of Sunday, so some snow across some higher Scottish mountains before that warm front pushes back northwards. A very windy day across most areas, gales, severe gale force winds across many mountains. It looks as though the strongest of those winds focused on Wales, the Lakes and the Pennines. A very difficult day in prospect on higher terrain here. That very windy story takes us onwards into Monday as well. We've got a stable atmospheric situation across England and Wales at least, and that's one where we'll see some powerful gusts coming through some of the passes and in places downslope to the east of some of the major ridges and summits across Wales, the Lakes and the Pennines. It's a situation where we could well see some lenticular clouds in place. That's the sort of flying saucer-like clouds that exist across the hills. If we do get the lower level cloud sheet to break up, then this sort of stable atmospheric situation with the powerful wind may well form some interesting cloud shapes. So watch for that one around on Monday. That is to the south of the front. Further north, it looks like a story of torrential rainfall coming into the Western Highlands as that front just runs its way in through much of the day. That likely to edge northwards with time. It's possible that we see some snow on the northern side of that, just across the northern side of the Highlands, but it looks more likely to turn generally to rain. Very little of that getting toward the eastern side of the Highlands. It's a classic west-east split in this sort of situation. The same frontal zone is likely to be around into Tuesday, although just tending to weaken with time, and if anything a cold front just beginning to sink back southwards across Britain. It may well be that much of England and Wales gets away with a dry day. Again, some low cloud possible around Irish Sea coasts, otherwise some warmth and some sunshine will be in the picture, the best of the temperatures to the eastern side of any of the hills, but chillier air coming back around from the northwest behind the front with some snow showers moving in across northwest Scotland. The exact position and timing of all of that is up for grabs at this stage. Notice high pressure starting to build away to our west, that likely to become the story into the middle of the week. What's left of that cold front sinking southwards into Wednesday. Maybe a few showers on that for a time, but many places looking dry with high pressure building in. The wind flow sort of turning around north or northeasterly could be quite strong and gusty in places for a time, but if the high does extend fully in, then a lull in the wind will develop across Scotland at least. Some very clear conditions likely then once we're behind that front going southward, so some sunshine around and still some pleasant temperatures, but I suspect on the chilly side across many of the hills near to freezing point across highest terrain. So where are things going toward the Easter period? Well, naturally some uncertainty at a week or 10 days away, but many forecasting models are coming around to a similar conclusion at this stage. Just to backpedal things slightly, this is in the middle of the week around Tuesday, and I do like to describe the weather patterns based on which way the wind is blowing and where the air has come from. It's all that story of air masses. Just look what's going on right over the other side of the Atlantic, and we have a zone of high pressure and a strong southerly airflow coming in from the mid-Atlantic heading up towards Greenland. That's of some interest later on in the week because it's that air mass which is relatively mild or warm that does sort of topple around within the general area of high pressure. So even though it's a high that eventually becomes parked towards our northwest later in the week, temporarily chilly air is in place where temperatures fall below freezing, but I wouldn't be surprised around Thursday, perhaps Friday of next week, just to see something a bit milder or warmer come around that area of high pressure that even though it has a wind flow from the north or northeast at first, temporarily it will likely have some milder air within it. The exact detail of the forecast is uncertain in terms of just where there's some low cloud around. There could be some morning inversion conditions in places. It's likely that we see a few days at least of largely dry and clear weather though. Now, many indications do just turn things around a little bit as we go onwards towards the Easter weekend. Now, high pressure seems likely to be stationed somewhere towards our west and northwest, but we just begin to open the door to a more direct northerly flow with its origins off the Arctic. And as we go further onwards into the Easter weekend on this chart, it looks most likely that that colder air mass will win out and will be sent into considerably chillier conditions, sub-zero across the mountains for several days, some showers coming in on northeasterly winds with some snow and some hail, maybe even some snow flurries falling to low levels at times. So I think at this stage we can expect a chilly spell of weather, a distinctly wintry feeling spell of weather as we go into the Easter weekend. So that's the plan at this stage. We'll see how things develop, of course. For today, that's been your MWIS Friday Planner in association with Ellis Brigham. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.